Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today I'm going to talk about the 10th game in my Spiel Jahres winner series, and this is Hanabi, and this was the 2013 winner of the prize. I think it was originally published in 2010. The game is a cooperative game in which players are going to be trying to put on a fireworks show by playing cards into a common display. The catch being that players cannot see what they have on the cards that are held in their hand, so they have to rely on one another to guide each other as to what cards they should be playing. The game is designed by Antoine Bauza, and it plays from 2 to 5 players in about 20 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. And it's for, the box says, ages 8 and up. The game has relatively simple rules, and it's actually just a deck of cards, which makes it an unusual Spiel des Jahres winner. I'm going to take a minute to show you how it plays, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts on it. Okay, so here we have the setup for a 2-player game of Hanabi, and you can see that each player is going to have a number of cards in their hand, and that number will vary by the number of players. The catch is that players will hold them with the backs facing them, so that their other players will be able to see the cards that they have, but they won't. That's the most important rule in this game. And I should mention that this is a cooperative game, and players are going to share 8 of these scroll tokens and then 3 of these thunder tokens, which they don't want to have flipped over to show the thunder side. And so the way that the game works is on your turn, you essentially are going to have 3 options that you could perform. The first is to give a hint to the other player about the cards that they have in their hand. So if it was this player's turn, they might want to give a hint about this player's cards. So they would say, for example, these 2 cards are 1s, and giving a hint is going to cost you 1 of these tokens, so they have to just flip that over to the dark side. So this player knows that now that these 2 are 1s, and they can do whatever they want in their hand to rearrange their cards. They might hold them separately or what have you. That would be this player's turn. And what they could do now is they could do the second action, which is to play a card. So since they know both of these 2 cards are 1s, they can play them safely to the field. So these cards are basically fireworks cards, and they show numbers on them from 1 through 5 in 5 different suits. And you can see here, there are about, I think there are 3 1s of each color, and then 2 of each number from 2, 3, and 4. And then for 5s, there's only 1 of each color. And the idea is to place them into piles sequentially with 1 on the bottom, 5 on the top, in 5 different piles, 1 for each color. And you can only play 1, 1, and then 1, 2, then 1, 3, 1, 4, and 1, 5. If players complete that by playing all the cards, which would be 25, 5 per suit, they'll win the game. If they don't complete that, they will lose. So this is a cooperative game where they're trying to meet the same objective. So this player knows that these are 1s, and they know that no matter what, they would be able to play any of those 1s. So they might, for example, play this here. And playing a card does not consume a token, and they would just start a pile of green cards with this. So that would be their entire turn. Now we come back to this player again, and they still don't know anything about the cards that they're holding. So what they might want to do is give another hint. So they can flip over another one of these scroll tokens, and then they might tell the player, this card and this card are red. So now the player would know that this card is red here, and that this one is a red 1, since they already know it's a 1 and they know it's red. So that, again, they might do some trick to keep the cards in order. Also, I should have mentioned is what would happen is at the end of the player's previous turn, they would draw another card, and that would be included in that clue. So they would know these cards are not red. So now this player knows that they have a red 1, and there's no red 1 played yet, so they could spend their turn to now play that, which would start, like I said, a second pile for red. So now they would just draw a card, they don't know anything about it, and now go back to this player. So this player doesn't know anything about their cards yet, so all they could really do is they could, again, playing a card would be very risky because they don't know anything yet about these cards. This second option is to give a hint, as I already demonstrated, and then the third option is just simply to discard a card. And if they discarded a card from their hand, that would flip one of these tokens back up to the white side, but it would potentially take that card out of circulation, inhibiting the ability to complete a call or a stack of cards. So they would not want to do that at this point. So probably what they would do would be give the player another hint. So this player knows that this card is a red, and they know that's not a 1. So now they might say, these 2 cards are 2s. So this player now knows that these 2 cards are 2s. And then when it was this player's turn, they might now not really know that they could play any of those twos yet because they don't know what color it is. So they might instead give a hint to this player. So now they could say, this card and this card are ones. So that would, again, consume a token. So this is just going to go back and forth with the players giving each other hints, spending tokens. If they run out of tokens, or if they know that there's a card that in their hand that they've already played. So if ever this player discovered this was a red one, they would probably choose to discard that out because, again, it's not going to be played out. And they would discard it face up and just draw another card. And then they would be able to flip, like I said, one of these tokens back over. So if ever a player goes to play a card, so let's say it's back to this player and they say, oh, these are twos, I already have ones, I'll try playing a two. So they play this white two, but there's no white one. What'll happen is that this card will just get discarded, they'll draw another card as normal, and then we'll flip over one of these lightning bolt tokens. If ever all three of these lightning bolt tokens that get flipped over, the players automatically lose and get 0 points. Otherwise, the game is going to keep going with the players going back and forth until either all 5 piles are complete, and that would be a complete victory, or until this deck runs out. Once that deck runs out, you'll just assess the number of cards that you have on the display. All the cards are just going to be worth 1 point, and then you'll look at the rules and see how well you did. And I have a German version, so this is the rules translation, and you can see that there is a guide here to show you how you've done. So for example, here, a score of 0 to 5, it says, oh dear, the crowd booed. Whereas if you got a score between 21 and 24, that would be very good, and a total win would be legendary. So this is basically how Hanabi is going to play. There is a variant included in the game, and that is basically this set of cards, which has these multicolored fireworks on them. And these could be added in to either serve as a 6th suit, or you could also play to make them not only a 6th suit, but when a player gives you a color hint, these will count for any color, which will make things very confusing very fast. I'm certainly not at the level to play with those. I guess the only other thing that I would point out is that when you're giving a hint, you can give a negative hint insofar as you could say you have 0 5s, or you have 0 blue cards. And sometimes that's the best way to give each other information. But in all, that is how you play Hanabi. All right, so that is Hanabi. And I think that anybody who's an aficionado of hobby board games would agree that this is a very well-designed game. It's very streamlined as a co-op game. You're essentially almost in an abstract territory with just arranging numbers and colors. And it has a co-op nature. I think this is the only winner of the Spiel des Jahres to be a cooperative game. And then thirdly, it is has that really unique mechanism of not being able to see your cards, which fosters cooperation. In fact, the game requires it. There's no way for one player to essentially run the game for all the other players because nobody has perfect information. So those are, I think, amazing design features. I think that this game is one that I absolutely respect. However, I will say that on a personal level, I don't especially enjoy playing this game. I find it very hard to do. I find the game's requirement for you to remember, memory clues and try to read between the lines about what other players are trying to tell you when they give you a hint to be utterly exasperating. And I think that I might be in the minority of this. So as much as I really like the game from a design standpoint, I think that it's one that I generally will shy away from playing. And that's just, personal preference. Don't let that keep you away from playing this, because I know many people who really love this game. And I know people, in fact, who have played it hundreds and hundreds of times. And some of those people essentially come up with, if not house rules, little tells. So for example, if they tell you this is a 3, when there's a 2 on the table, they might be indicating to you now would be a great time to play that 3. Or they might have other conventions like that, almost like as if they were playing a trick-taking game with what they pass you, trying to indicate something else to you. So people who have played this game enough for it to get really deep into strategies and essentially conventions of how to play it, and the fact that the game really rewards that and can accommodate that is a great asset of it. And I bow to the quality of the design. It's just, as a gamer, I'm terrible as far as having a short-term memory and remembering important things. I'm always trying to track information. I just lose sight of what I'm trying to track for myself. So I'm generally a disaster in playing this game. I think we've scored, with me playing, over 20 only a few times. So again, I'm just really bad at it. heaven forbid I ever played the game with those extra fireworks cards in there, because I just entirely lose it. So not a game that I personally especially like. However, I do think that it's a very unique and a very worthwhile game to check out. As far as, the fact that it was just a small box card game winning the Spiel des Jahres, could a card game be game of the year? I have no particular problem with that, although it was somewhat surprising to some of the people at the time. But they've released deluxe editions with Mahjong tiles and whatnot, so they had no trouble upgrading the appearance of the game. I still have the original version here, pre-award German version, so I guess you could call me a Hanabi hipster, except for the fact that I don't particularly like the game. So that is Hanabi, and those are my thoughts on it. So thanks for watching.